This is London. You will now hear a statement by the Prime Minister.
I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
Radar, or radio detection and ranging, was developed over many years. In the 19th century, Scottish physicist James Maxwell found that radio waves can be reflected from metal objects. The technology could be used to detect enemy planes. After a demonstration at Orford Ness in Suffolk, the Royal Air Force funded this newly named radar system, beginning a network of radar towers all along the British coastline called the Chain Home. Fortunately, the Chain Home towers couldn't detect signals nearer the ground, meaning planes could quite literally fly under the radar. So Chain Home Low was developed, a system which allowed them to detect planes closer to the ground. This network included a radar on top of the Naze Tower at Walton in 1940. Initially, the performance of the tower was very poor, and the technicians couldn't work out why. One afternoon, a technician was climbing the stairs with a bulb in his hand, when all of a sudden it began softly glowing. At last, a clue, he thought. It turned out the upright rods of the banister were 81 centimetres long, almost exactly half the wavelength of the transmitting radar signal. This meant that the banister was absorbing all of the power from the radar signal. After quickly grounding the banister, the radar was back up and running and joined the network, detecting the incoming enemy threat. On August 15, 1945, Prime Minister Clement Attlee announced that Japan had surrendered, bringing an end to the Second World War. Radar operator and late Walton resident Reg O'Neill wrote, "We went over to the tower and switched on the searchlight atop the tower and tried to floodlight the town, but buildings got in the way, so we settled on illuminating the pier. Someone had the great idea to ascend to the ops room at the top of the tower and dispose the paperwork through the window, cascading down onto the camp below. As most of this was of confidential or secret nature, a search had to be made the following morning to retrieve every sheet."
The war certainly came to Clacton-on-Sea when a big Nazi plane, believed to be a bomber mine layer, crashed on the town in the middle of the night. Movietone's pictures show what remains of the Heinkel after the machine had bounced off one roof and finally struck here. Drums of machine gun bullets can be seen among the wreckage. A terrific explosion caused tremendous devastation. If the machine carried mines, this would explain such great destruction. Over 50 houses are reported to have been destroyed or badly damaged. 6 people, including the 4 Nazi airmen, were killed and about 160 injured. People's property, as well as bits of the plane, hung from those trees that were left standing, and the whole scene was one of tragic disaster. Many stories of efficiency and courage in the face of this sudden and violent blow redound to the credit of the famous seaside resort. Two lifeboatmen had a narrow escape from death when this East Coast pier was blown up by a floating mine. Timbers and reinforced concrete supports were smashed by a breakfast-time explosion that shook the whole town. Several other mines have been washed up in the neighborhood, all German, as you'd expect. The power of the explosives being used in the Nazi campaign of frightfulness at sea is clearly shown by these...